Hi guys. I'm not actually going to be doing any laddering or playing myself today. I'm going to be commentating the finals of the UU Open, and I'm just going to ignore spectators. I'll keep the players on non-ignore. Yeah, UU is probably my worst metagame, but these two both have gotten to the finals of the UU Open, and it's mod chat, please. They both know exactly what they're doing. As he leads Azelf versus Azelf, this is already going too fast for me to keep up with. Mono blue versus nearly mono blue anyway. Kyurem gets burned on the switch into Azelf. That's kind of annoying. The damage from that Azelf makes me think that that's Suicide Lead Azelf. Plus the structure of the team generally if you see an Azelf in the lead slot. But Scarf Kyurem picks up a surprise KO. Lead Azelf, get up rocks, just start pounding away with the rest of the hyper-offensive mons on your team, including Hydreigon, which is currently being suspected in UU. But the combination of King UU's Lead Azelf plus Scarf Kyurem, especially given that I don't feel like Scarf Kyurem is a very commonly seen set, I could be completely wrong. As I said before, I'm not the best at UU, and I don't have the most experience in the meta, but I don't think it's the most commonly seen set, as we do see SD Cobalion, further making me think that this is, in fact, just lead Azelf HO, rather than, gets a flinch there. That might be costly in the long term of this game, because now he's only got one chance to burn, does not get it, and now Close Combat kills Tentacruel, as he actually goes for Rock Polish. Close Combat still kills Tentacruel here, burn but Lumberry, and that might be game one. Close Combat, I believe, kills here. It might be a roll, but if it is, it's in Stallion's favor. And Ironhead will KO the Sylveon. I believe that +2 Close Combat will kill a Rotom. He'll outspeed the Kyurem. I suppose he could go into his Crocodile and Intimidate, and then sack something, or sack the Crocodile specifically, and then try and live a +1 Close Combat with Rotom, which looks to be what he's trying to do. And yeah, the flinch kind of mattered there, because then he would have had 3 opportunities to burn twice rather than just 2 opportunities to burn twice, and then the Lumberry would have obviously been burnt and everything. As he predicts the switch, well done Stallion, and that is good game, I do believe. Yeah, I don't think that can realistically be worked around efficiently enough. He goes for Iron Head, it 2-hit KOs the Crocodile now, it's physically defensive, it's lost a lot of HP, and Kyurem gets sacked off to the Iron Head. He can bring in again, and I would definitely not sack it here though. As in, I would definitely sack it here rather. Yeah, as he does go for Close Combat rather than Iron Head there, covering the potential switch into Rotom H. If he tried to sack off the Sylveon and he SD'd again, then that would have been really bad, as that might have lived a +2 Close Combat actually. Not that damage roll. That damage roll would have killed at +2, but it's closer than I had thought it would be. As now Hydreigon comes in on Azelf, and this is probably a Scarf Hydreigon if you brought it in like this. Plus just the general makeup of his team, it does look rather weak to things like the Mega Beedrill, Mega Sceptile, things of that nature, and Scarf Hydreigon does help out with those things, as well as providing a good pivot and general powerhouse. As he goes for Iron Tail, anticipating the Sylveon switch in, as King UU predicts that brilliantly and brings in his Rotom. It does not have leftovers, which might mean that this might be Scarf or Specs itself, as it is Life Orb Hydreigon. But if it was Scarf, then he could have potentially gotten off a Volt Switch and tried to double into Sylveon that way, and Sylveon could live one Iron Head, not Iron Head, Iron Tail. As he goes for U-turn, sacking off the Sylveon. Does he go for Iron Tail here? No, he goes for Dark Pulse. But he doesn't need his Hydreigon alive anymore, because at this point it looks like Swampert cleans up the game, as does the Metagross. So yeah, there's not much point in not going for that. As he goes for Iron Tail and misses, Azov can now just revenge kill the Hydreigon, well, not even revenge kill, just kill it with U-turn. And in comes the Sylveon here, but then Metagross comes in and just not Iron Heads, Zen. He goes for Meteor Mash, that's the one. And then Sylveon is dead. Or he can go out into Azov here, but it can't take on Metagross efficiently enough, in my opinion. Plus, if he lets Swampert have free setup, then it loses anyway. As Fire Blast missed, I don't think that mattered in the long run. If this is Scarf Azov, which it might well be, then it would have just let Swampert set up as a Rain Dance for free. Or yeah, this was Stallion's game. Although King Yu did definitely have his moments where it looked like he was going to win. Just early on with Scarf Kyurem play. So that was a good first game, and I'll pause it until we get to the second one. As we're in game 2, and spectators are once again ignored. Now I've got a little bit more breathing time here, as Stallion brings, it looks artificially similar to the type of build that King Yu brought last game with the Sylveon, the Kyurem. He does bring Metagross again, though, and he brings Swampert, and Swampert does have a pretty decent matchup in this game, to be honest. In the late game specifically, when the Fortress has been worn down, if he's faster than King Yu's own Swampert in particular, then it could be a huge threat. And Conkeldurr is in here. It goes for knockoff, anticipating the switch into the Chandelure, which is the only thing that realistically wants to take on Conkeldurr 1v1 in terms of switching into all of its various coverage moves. Sylveon can as well, but Poison Jab is a thing that can destroy Sylveon a little bit, as Fortress is now at 51%. Crobat can defog the rocks away at almost any time. It can even come in now, because Sylveon can't OHKO it without going for Specs Psyshock, and he's still got a Metagross which can easily come in on the Sylveon. As he does choose to go for Metagross instead, whoa, that's Specs. That is definitely Specs. That's a powerful Sylveon. And yeah, Crobat would have lived that, but it wouldn't have been able to do much else aside from live that. As he goes for Rocks on the switch into Fortress, Fortress can just Rapid Spin, but it doesn't exactly like taking on Metagross 1v1. So he can ensure that Rocks stay off the field, but he's losing one of the only real switch-ins he has to things like the Conkeldurr and the Crobat. As he does go out into Conkeldurr immediately, and Hydreigon comes in on the same turn, and this is a lefty Conkeldurr, so it's reasonable to assume it has the bulk necessary to live any one real hit from the Hydreigon. I would have gone for Drain Punch here, so maybe King Yu is considering going out into Chandelure, as he does go out onto Fortress. As he's just sacking off the Fortress, it's the best possible play. He's going to go for knockoff here as well, just covering any. Okay, nope, he's not going to go for knockoff there. Maybe not wanting to risk a roll, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe people are less likely to send in the Ghost type on a knockoff spamming mon than I thought that they were. As Metagross goes down to the Hyper Voice, and now Crobat can come in. It's the only thing left Stallion has that threatens the Sylveon with an OHKO. And Stallion's own Chandelure is starting to look really potentially very threatening, as he goes for the defog, as Sylveon just goes straight for the Hyper Voice, and does a huge 56% to the Crobat, and Crobat is not wanting to take too many of them. It can roost off the damage right here, but if he switches into his Conkeldurr, or even just his Swampert here, he goes into Hydreigon on the Brave Bird, which is enough to kill the Crobat. And now there is no switch in for Sylveon, so he has to be very careful in terms of when Stallion sends out his Conkeldurr, and if he will allow Sylveon any extra turns, as he actually just ignores everything I've said and just hard switches into Conkeldurr right here. Maybe he's running a Spadef Sylveon that can take, well, with the knockoff, that Sylveon is a lot less threatening, as now Sylveon cannot defeat Stallion's own Sylveon, especially if this is a Spadef Sylveon. That is not a very Spadef Sylveon. I'd argue that's more physically defensive, because that's without choice specs. And fully physically defensive Sylveon will take about that much. Fully specially defensive Sylveon will take about that much damage from regular specs Sylveon. So I would be imagining that this is a physically defensive Sylveon set. Although I don't know the calcs off the top of my head brilliantly, so yeah, I might be wrong. But, okay, if this is a setup Chandelure, this is a huge... If this is a setup Chandelure, King Yu wins. If this is like sub CM, yeah, he just outright, he can't lose if this is sub CM. If this is a Scarf Chandelure, then he could win. Whoa. Random darkness. As in, Stallion could win if this is a Scarf Chandelure. As he goes out to Kyurem, as Sub comes out, the Wish is wasted, and now Chandelure can just easily go for a Fire Blast here, in all honesty. It doesn't even need to go for CM until later on, because there's no way that this Kyurem can beat the rest of King Yu's team. And Flamethrower is nearly a 2-hit KO outright. I was thinking Fire Blast, but Flamethrower actually makes a lot more sense. So, yeah. So this is looking like it's going to go to a game 3. Conkeldurr comes in, trying to catch the Hydreigon, succeeding, but this feels like delaying the inevitable here, because every time the Conkeldurr comes in, the Sylveon can come in, and it can just straight go for Baton Pass right here, and then go hard into Chandelure, and then just sub. If the Sylveon stays into Wish, then maybe fire off a Flamethrower trying to catch the Kyurem, see if it's a roll to kill. Alternatively, just Calm Mind. Calm Mind on the turn that the Sylveon wishes. Don't bother going for Substitute, in other words. And then, well, then when the Sylveon would then have to make a choice between switching and stay, and guaranteeing that something could get a wish, maybe by going for Baton Pass, in which case Sub would be a fine play. King Yu just has this game, in my opinion, and it would take something unbelievable to stop that, as he hard switches into Kyurem, expecting the Baton Pass play, and Kyurem goes down. Now, that did make a bit of sense, because nothing on King Yu's team wanted to take on Kyurem 1v1 aside from this Sylveon, but Sylveon didn't go for Baton Pass, basically. And now Swampert is in, and if it gets up the rain, this is actually a threat. This is a threat. This is a genuine threat. And this might win. Wow. I didn't think that that would be happening. Whoa! Scarf Hydreigon outspeeds this Swampert, and Swampert takes a ton of damage. The Hydreigon is no longer around, but this... I think that his own Swampert will live a hit and then be able to revenge sweep in terms of King Yu's Swampert. The only real danger would be if this Swampert, Stallion Swampert, could somehow get a wish passed to it by the Sylveon. Very nice sets there, because if Scarf Hydreigon didn't outspeed, which I mean obviously did outspeed, but this Swampert could have been a much bigger problem. Although, if given that that's the case, I'm really surprised he didn't just go straight for a Hyper Voice with Sylveon, send the Swampert into range of Draco Meteor, or maybe even of Dark Pulse. Sylveon is relatively strong. And then you could fire off a Dark Pulse with Conkeldurr, not Conkeldurr, with Hydreigon, and then when the Conkeldurr comes in, you can hard switch into anything you want on your team, because Conkeldurr does not beat the combination of Conkeldurr, Swampert, and Chandelure, and Swampert and Chandelure both beat the Sylveon one-on-one, especially when there's rain already set up. So maybe that would have been a better sequence of events there. But still, the Swampert can come in and just click Earthquake. He's got to rely on a Waterfall Flinch, and he does not get it. And so this looks to be a good game. Maybe this is in range of a Mark Punch, or maybe the Conkeldurr could live a hit. I don't know. Swampert is very strong, and this is rain-boosted Waterfall. So Conkeldurr is very bulky though, so it probably can live a hit. But I mean, it won't. Whoa, that did nothing. That did nothing. Shit, that must be. That can't be max attack Conkeldurr. That can't be the damage a max attack Conkeldurr does. I would half be expecting a Mark Punch here, and so just hard switch into my Sylveon from King Yu's point of view. But Stallion is behind in this game. If he wants to win it, he's got to make some ballsy plays. And there's no real need to Mark Punch here, in all honesty. He should, in my opinion, just go for Drain Punch. Nope, he does go for Mark Punch, and Sylveon comes in, and that looks to be game, because now it can just Hyper Voice, and it will 2-hit KO the Sylveon. Sylveon can't possibly Wish Protect enough to avoid the 2-hit KO, I don't believe. As Mark Punch crits the Sylveon, as Hyper Voice kills the Conkeldurr, and now he's got to do Sylveon versus the world versus a Chandelure set that beats the Sylveon 1v1, so that's not looking too likely. He'll be at what, 36% at the end of the turn? No, okay, protects first, which is smart, because then he gets to just Baton Pass Wish here, as he goes for Shadow Ball, lowering his mid F. That's a bit gay, in all honesty. I mean, here you don't really want to just hard switch into Chandelure. You want to just go for Hyper Voice kill for Sylveon. You'll be left at about 80% or so, but I mean, the CM Chandelure beats you anyway, so. Yeah, this is definitely going to a game 3. I don't know why he did the Protector, and then, if that was his plan. Swampert comes in, it's almost definitely faster than the Sylveon. And then that just means that Swampert will be able to pick up the kill, because Sylveon cannot take an Earthquake. Or at least I don't think it can. If it can, it's definitely full Fizz Def, but then it couldn't take a hit from either of the 2 remaining Mons, so there's no real problem. Yeah, that's full Fizz Def. There's no way that Swampert does that level without full Fizz Def. Chandelure just comes out and just Shadow Balls twice. Or Flamethrowers twice, it doesn't matter. And that's game 2. So it's 1 game apiece, and it's time to wait for the 3rd game. I'll pause it until it happens, and see you then. And we're in game 3, and that's a familiar looking team from Stallion. Conkeldurr, Swampert, Metagross, Sylveon, Hydreigon, and Celebi. That's a pretty standard looking team. King Yu has gone so far as to use Espeon, which honestly I've not seen ever in Yu since, well, I mean, I haven't played much since Alakazam was banned, so I mean, I suppose that's why. That's interesting though. Sylveon, not Sylveon, Espeon isn't that useful in this matchup though, because it doesn't really come in on any of the 3 things that could set rocks. So, well, this is one of them, the Swampert. It is Megapert, and it is Scald Megapert. Because when you have, let's just take a look at this. Mega Swampert. Metagross comes in on the Fortress, dodging the Toxic. It is not Lefty's Metagross though. Oops. Wait, I can't chat, what? I'm looking for the data, not the chat. He goes for HP Fire on the Conkeldurr, switching. Yeah, when you have base 150 attack and base 95 special attack, you definitely want to be using a special attacking move. It just goes to show how insane Skull is. Knocks off the Scarf from the Hydreigon. That didn't matter that much, but it could matter significantly for Gyarados late game. Especially if the Gyarados can actually set up on the Metagross, which is not impossible. In fact, Gyarados looks to be pretty damn decent in this game, if anything. It obviously needs to worry about the potential for Hyper Voice going through sub, and ergo it needs to Dragon Dance instead of subbing when it's in that situation. As Conkeldurr comes in, it is Lefty's Conkeldurr again. So it's currently 11:30 at night. And he Toxics the Conkeldurr. Maybe he thinks this isn't Guts, but I mean that's Guts damage, I think. As Volt Switch does nothing. And now he's dealing with a Guts boosted. Ooh, he switches into Swampert ZDD, he subs. That's a brave move there. I would have definitely hard switched into Sylveon. I wouldn't have definitely hard switched into Sylveon, but I would have definitely feared the hard switch into Sylveon in anticipation of sub. DD here. Ooh, he just goes straight for the waterfall. As Hidden Power Electric. Okay, that's a set. That's good to know. What? I clearly don't know Swampert sets. Since when was HP Electric Swampert a thing? Scald, crit burns. Potentially. Oh, is that in range of another Scald? It's in range of an Earthquake for sure, but I don't know if the Swampert actually has Earthquake. Of course, if this is the Life Orb Luring set, then that's just incredibly poor for King Yu. Can go just for Hammer Arm, and doesn't reveal any Life Orbs, so that does look to be Guts, I believe. Unless this is Iron Fist? Iron Fist isn't a thing. I don't think Iron Fist is a thing, at least. Because you've got potential of Life Orb Sheer Force that does more with the moves that Iron Fist boosts, so yeah, of course if it was Iron Fist, Drain Punch would do as much as Hammer Arm, so unless, does Iron Fist boost Hammer Arm? I didn't think it did. He just decides to sack off the Conkeldurr versus the Sylveon, naturally. We do see this as Lefty Sylveon, so it's not going to be a Specs. Painful variant, as now he's got to deal with a Chandelure looking at him in the eyes, and I've been very impressed with the way that King Yu has just controlled the tempo of this game thus far. He can honestly just calm mind here, and then a +1 flamethrower, it doesn't kill. I think actually the smarter play here would just be to sub again, rack up another turn of toxic damage, and then yeah, he does go for the substitute. You're not doing much damage in total, and now this is definitely in range of a +1 flamethrower, I do believe. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. And he has nothing left aside from the Celebi maybe, which can outspeed a Chandelure, and even the Celebi does not want to be taking on a +1 Chandelure by itself, especially if it's a special attacker. If it's a because it doesn't run any physical move that can actually hit Chandelure, so Celebi is not a Chandelure check, unless it's got something like T-Wave, and then put it in range, so, well, not put it in range, put it slower than the Swampert, which has been expertly hiding a physical move, maybe? I do believe the Flamethrower does kill, so I don't know what's taking this long. Of course, maybe it doesn't actually kill. This is Assault Vest Conkelder. It's not exactly a frail mon. I believe it's got Assault Vest at least. Oh wait, no, it's leftovers, isn't it? Of course. Yeah, +1 Flamethrower kills. Chandelure is I think it's the strongest non-legendary non-mega in terms of special attackers, so yeah, this definitely kills. And this might wrap up the game for King Yu Yu. Swampert comes out. I don't think it can live a Shadow Ball. I mean, maybe it can, but I don't think it can. And then Sylveon does not beat. Ooh, it can quite easily. And Earthquake takes out the Chandelure. So Stallion is using a very, very, very bulky version of Swampert as he hard switches into Gyarados, which I've got to say I'm not entirely convinced on, because he can't set up with this Gyarados on the Swampert. It has HP Electric, and yeah, it just kills him with the Waterfall. And Celebi's still alive. He can't go into Celebi, of course, because then +1 and then Bounce, and that doesn't do enough. Metagross comes in. This is HP Fire Metagross. There's no way that King Yu is doing anything other than just sacking off Fortress here. There's no reason to keep Fortress around after this turn, so I mean, he has no reason to keep it around, and then he can just go hard into his Crocodile, and I feel like here the play is probably just going for Earthquake, because he does go out into Sylveon, and Knockoff comes out. Earthquake would have 2-hit KO'd the Sylveon, I believe, especially after Rock's damage. I mean, yeah, just do double knockoff damage, although with leftovers and it protect and then wish, that's not exactly a certain thing. As Espeon comes out and takes everything from that Hyper Voice, but he can't go into Metagross easily, as he goes for Trick on the Sylveon. This is probably a Specs or Scarf Espeon. It's obviously a choice item, but I don't know which. On that team, I'd imagine it'd actually be Scarf. It is Scarf, as that isn't good. That isn't good at all. Gyarados does have the bulk to take 1, and it can Dragon Dance up, but Metagross does not die to a +1 Waterfall. So I'm not exactly sure about that. Maybe he's going to try and Dragon Dance and then Bounce, because he's actually initially faster as well, and then Bounce so that he gets as much lefties as he possibly can, and then he can try and live any hit that Metagross wants to go for. That sounds most reasonable, and he does in fact just do that, as I said. He was risking the Metagross switching out there though, and wow, Bounce did not kill off the Sylveon. Stallion clearly likes full Pizdef Sylveon. A Waterfall will definitely kill here, but it might be better just to go for Bounce, but at the same time then you're risking Bounce missing, and then your Gyarados dies, and then your Crocodile would die. Celebi and you do tend to run max speed, so it's not a reliable... Crocodile is not a reliable way of getting rid of Celebi, unless this is Scarf Intimidate, and given that he's got Scarf Espeon, that's really unlikely. And by really unlikely, I mean it's not happening. So, yes. Of course, he does still have a Gyarados, and when there's a Gyarados, there's a way, because he can, of course, just flinch down the Metagross. He does take the route of just going straight for the waterfall, and Stallion goes hard into Metagross. I might have considered going Celebi and then doubling into Metagross on the bounce. As he flinches, the Metagross, and King Yu wins because of that flinch. Oh dear, that's unfortunate. Oop, shit, no, I didn't want to do that. Oh, that's unfortunate. I do think that Stallion could have played that better by going Celebi and forcing the bounce. And then... Celebi force the bounce, then double into Metagross and go for... Does Metagross have no electric move? Zen Headbutt maybe? But I don't... this does still come down to if bounce hits. But does Celebi... I mean, if it's nasty for Celebi, it definitely does. As he goes for Substitute on the nasty plot, giving him an extra chance if he fails the first one. That is good play by King Yu. Fair play there. I did anticipate the nasty plot, but I did not anticipate the sub. I did anticipate him just going straight for the bounce as he connects, and King Yu takes home the Yu Open because of a waterfall flinch. That's unfortunate, but I mean that is the nature of the game, and there were numbers involved, and I do think that Stallion could definitely have played that game better. But then again, could he? Because if Celebi came in and forced the bounce, would King Yu have just subbed instead? Could he have subbed instead? That's just, I don't think he could have subbed instead. Because at that point, I don't have the instant replay turn 28. Not much longer, not much longer, not much longer. One more. He could have subbed, and if Stallion did what I said and hard switched from Celebi into Metagross, then he would have lost the game there as well, because then Gyarados definitely won, because it could just fire off two high-powered waterfalls behind a sub for free. And credit where credit's due, King Yu did make the correct plays at the correct time. And yeah, just well done Stallion for getting this far. I know he's also been doing really well in other opens, like the Ubers Open. He's currently in the semi-finals, I believe. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.